October 1962. The world came closer to nuclear annihilation than at any other point in human history. For 13 terrifying days, the United States and the Soviet Union stood on the edge of a war that could have killed hundreds of millions of people. Nuclear bombers sat ready on runways, missiles were armed, submarines waited beneath the ocean, and world leaders faced decisions that could determine the fate of humanity itself. A single misunderstanding, a single mistake, or a single missile launch could have triggered World War III. This is the story of the Cuban Missile Crisis, the 13 days that almost ended the world. To understand how the world got here, we need to go back a few years. After World War II, two superpowers emerged, the United States and the Soviet Union. Although they had fought on the same side during the war, they quickly became rivals. America represented capitalism and democracy. The Soviet Union promoted communism. Neither trusted the other, and both were building massive nuclear arsenals. This rivalry became known as the Cold War, a conflict fought not with direct battles, but through politics, espionage, proxy wars, and the constant threat of nuclear destruction. Then, in 1959, everything changed. A revolutionary named Fidel Castro seized power in Cuba, just 90 miles from the coast of Florida. Soon, Cuba aligned itself with the Soviet Union. For Washington, this was a nightmare. A communist ally sitting right on America's doorstep. By 1962, Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev had a bold idea: secretly deploy nuclear missiles to Cuba. The plan offered several advantages. It would protect Cuba from another American invasion, it would strengthen the Soviet position in the Cold War, and it would place nuclear weapons within striking distance of major U.S. cities. Missiles launched from Cuba could reach Washington, D.C. in minutes. The operation was carried out in complete secrecy. Thousands of Soviet troops arrived in Cuba. Construction crews began building launch sites, and nuclear missiles were quietly transported across the Atlantic. But the secret wouldn't stay hidden for long. On October 14, 1962, an American U-2 spy plane flew over Cuba. The photographs it captured shocked intelligence analysts. There was no doubt the Soviet Union was building nuclear missile bases in Cuba. President John F. Kennedy was immediately informed. Inside the White House, panic began to spread. Military leaders pushed for airstrikes, others demanded a full invasion of Cuba. Some argued for diplomacy. Every option carried enormous risks, because if America attacked, the Soviet Union might retaliate, and if the Soviets retaliated, the world could find itself in a nuclear war. On October 22nd, President Kennedy addressed the nation. Millions watched as he revealed the existence of Soviet nuclear missiles in Cuba. The announcement stunned the world. Kennedy declared a naval blockade around Cuba. No Soviet ships carrying military equipment would be allowed through. The United States Navy moved into position. Meanwhile, Soviet ships continued sailing toward the blockade line. Now the question was simple. What would happen when the two sides met? If a Soviet ship refused to stop, would American forces open fire? And if they did, would the Soviet Union respond? For several days, the world waited, watching, hoping, and fearing the worst. October 27th became known as Black Saturday. Many historians consider it the most dangerous day in human history. That day, an American U-2 aircraft was shot down over Cuba. Its pilot was killed. Military commanders demanded retaliation. Tensions reached a breaking point. But an even greater danger was unfolding beneath the ocean. A Soviet submarine was being harassed by American naval forces. The crew had lost contact with Moscow. They believed war may have already begun. Unknown to the Americans, the submarine carried a nuclear torpedo. Some officers wanted to launch it. If they had, the result could have been catastrophic. But one man objected. Vasily Arkhipov refused to authorize the launch. His decision likely prevented a nuclear exchange. One man, one decision, possibly saving the world. As tensions peaked, Kennedy and Khrushchev exchanged urgent messages. Both leaders understood the danger. Neither wanted nuclear war. Finally, a compromise emerged. The Soviet Union agreed to remove its nuclear missiles from Cuba. In return, the United States promised not to invade Cuba. Privately, America also agreed to remove certain nuclear missiles from Turkey. It was a deal neither side could publicly celebrate, but it achieved something far more important: peace. On October 28th, the Soviet Union announced it would dismantle the missile sites. The crisis was over. The world had stepped back from the brink. The Cuban Missile Crisis lasted just 13 days. Yet those 13 days changed history forever. They revealed how fragile peace can be, how quickly fear can escalate, and how close humanity came to self-destruction. Today, more than 60 years later, the crisis remains a powerful reminder that sometimes the fate of the world depends not on weapons, but on the decisions of a few people willing to step back from the edge. Because in October 1962, humanity came within a breath of nuclear war, and somehow it survived.